So then we have Ivan Andras with his 6th place ranking at this Las Voz de Horus Open. The Voice of Horus Open is what it's called in Spanish. So here he got 6th place. He did get a couple 100s. He did have a lower scoring second round, but then he ended up losing only in the last round. So no submarining, straight up sticking at the top for the most part. So let's take a look at Ivan's War Horde list because it has some of the stuff that we know are fundamental with a little bit of a twist. I like it. So we have 2 beast bosses to ride along those 2 kill rigs. We have 2 war bosses, a war boss in mega armor who is the warlord. Oh gosh, I started to burp. Who is the warlord with Follow Me Lads. Love to see that. Really offset to his slowness. Then you have Here We Go access there. Bam, just start really chucking up the field with the mega knobs. 2 units of Beast Snagger Boys for those beast bosses, 2 trucks, followed by 2 5-man units of Flash Gitz, 2 small units of Gretchen, 2 kill rigs. Love the kill rigs for that strength threshold. But here we go, a commando unit here making his appearance again for that mid-table presence in Nexus. The Mega Knobs are with 2 twin kill saws, super important for our weaknesses right now. 2 5-man units of Power Claws. And then 2 Stormboy units. Here we go with the SWAT teams. As we can see, SWAT teams remaking their appearance yet again. Concurrent pattern. If you're getting knobbed, if you're getting Flash Gitz boys, see, you don't really need to necessarily spam and buy max amount of these units. It's really nice to see that you could just take them down to smaller factors, play them more surgically, more responsibly, and counter punchy in that way, right? The kill rigs, I love that because they actually do take knobs to the next threshold. They take Flash Gitz to the next strength threshold, and their stupid volume goes up. But also commandos. You can end up taking commandos and making them actually punchy, alpha strikey kind of unit. The enemy can't overwatch them, so they can just walk right up into them. The kill rigs can just move up the battlefield quickly on one flank behind the mandos. You fishtail them. You give the knobs and the breacher ram another, pivot strength, maybe even lethal, and then those boys go off. Really, really cool in that case that you can really think that way if you want to. Your Storm Boys can even get up to different strength thresholds if you want in that case. So your Storm Boys can run out and be a fighting unit. I don't say you always do that. I actually might make videos about all of these individual data sheets because there's a lot of niche ways you can play them, and it's not so simple as put your Storm Boys into deep strike. There are some circumstances you can call with the kill rig potential here to get them to a strength number that really matters to a wounding outcome that you care for and feels good if you're trying to clean some stuff up. So I like the toolage behind this list. There's a lot of killing potential. The las cannons make it, the War Tower last version of las cannons of auto hitting las cannons gives you that little bit of shooting alongside the Flash Gitz. It's not a lot of shooting, not reliable shooting necessarily, but you do have it. You are participating, and you have a lot of units spread around the battlefield in transports. Commandos are outside of your deployment zone. You're not getting hemmed in. You're not worried about scouting. You can kind of start filling up a flank. I like to see it. Today's sponsor, Baron of Dice. So Baron of Dice has great dice. They have actually enabled us to give these dice out for our paint competitions. So I greatly advise that you go out there. We have a link in the description for 5% discount. That's of course because nobody likes taxes. Shout out to Baron of Dice because they are actually customizing orc dice just for us that you guys will be able to get a hold of, and they look exceptional. So shout out to Baron of Dice. Really appreciate you guys, and I really do suggest you get them. I love the actual texture these dice have. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So let's see what he went into because he has tools to deal with vehicles, elite infantry, but it's not the most killy. There's no gas and stuff like that. So what was he dealing with? So first he went into the World Eater. Having transports makes a difference here, that's for sure. But you do have the Angron. And here's where War Towers makes feels good, right? I'm sure you're thinking that already. We have a Lord Invocatus, and then we have the World Eater's Master of Executions with the Berserker Glaive. Another fights first guy, like we were talking about with the Death Guard on another list earlier. We got to deal with that fight first, guys. We have 2 units of Jackals, followed by a unit of Khorne Berserkers. Of course, when you're playing with your SWAT teams, you got to be careful that these guys blood surge into you. Even if you charge them, they get fight first because of that. Master of Executions up here, so you got to be careful, but this is a unit that you would use effectively Flash Gitz on, even if you could with maybe Bomb Squig effectively if you really felt like it. Not that I really recommend it, but the point is you do sometimes dwindle these down so that when they come into you, they're less effective, or when you fight on death, you can just clean them fully up. You do have a Rhino for that unit that's going to be nice, safely packed in there. That's where the kill rigs come into play. We have 2 fat units of Exalted A-Bounds. Love to see that. And then 2 units of Forge Fiend. Very, elite version of World Eaters, and I don't think that's the most effective. I think when you're running a lot of little units for World Eaters, like 3 8-bound, 3 Exalted, some Chaos Bound, and Gron, that's crazy because all those units can way punch up their weight class, and they can stage up easily. When you're doing this, you're susceptible to fight on death, you're susceptible to Overwatch, you're susceptible to reactive moves because that unit can now, just that one unit won't get into combat, react to screens. It's like you're super susceptible to so much more stuff, which is where you're happy to have commandos in that play. These Exalted 8-pound aren't going to be able to run right up into you. He does have the 2 Forge Fiends. Your Kill Rigs doesn't, if it stands in the middle of the table and 2 Forge Fiends shooting it, it can die. If it stands in the middle of the table and, one of them shoots at it and an 8-pound runs at it, it's going to kill it. But if it's one Forge Fiend shooting at your Kill Rig, he can definitely survive, especially if it's a WAAAGH turn. And in response, shoot last cannons in response. Maybe the base Naga boys get out and they get lucky, they get a lethal. Not that it might happen, but it's a chance that it can happen. And really, you're just trying to push their killing units back and off the field, kind of delay on killing hand ground as you kill these big Exalted. Jackals can't really come back. They get picked up by Snaggers when the Kill Rig can get up to strength 6. You just Beast Snaggers get up to strength 6 outside the wall and pick up these Jackals in a nice skirmish. You would love to see that alongside the World Eaters of Masters of Execution. So you kill everything else. Angron, you don't really want to prioritize super trying to kill him. If you do, of course, Kill Rigs help with that. So there are tools, and Beast Snagger, you see there's Beast Bosses on this list, remember? So you can help deal with kind of some Angron as well. It does take the combined arms factor, though, because he can reduce damage, he can feel no pains. So just know that. That's why you kind of want to avoid him. But all in all, bunch of tools to kill that. We start with the Kill Rig. Remember, these 8-bound are T6. That means if it's not a WAAAGH turn and your Snagger boys don't have a Kill Rig around, you're running them in trucks or something, they fight winning dudes on 5s. So having 2 Kill Rigs, you can give them the strength 2 different units up to that strength 6, maybe even compound it and make it strength 7 on one of those units. And then if actually punching up out of your weight class, putting that volume into the 8-bound, maybe even dragging them downside along with you. Of course, if not, those Kill Rigs can go up and give your knobs that strength threshold where they're now pulling down Angron and winning him on 4s, the War Boss winning him on 3s. It gets really fun. Love to see that. So elite units of 8-bound armies of 8-bound light, 8-bound World Eaters like that aren't the worst matchup when you're playing War Horde. As for his second matchup, he went into Aeldari, Yernari. So there are some shenanigans at work here, my boys. We have Yavrin, a Death Jester, a Farseer Skyrunner, Kabbalite Warriors, Howling Banshee, Mandrake, Ranger, 3 units of Scourges, of course, because we kind of have all those Dark Lances, right? 2 units of Striking Scorpions. These are Infiltrators, right? Or maybe they're Deep Striking. I don't know. I forgot that. 2 units of Reavers, 2 Ravengers, 3 support weapons, which are D cannons, a Viper, and then a Venom. Okay, so very shenanigan, a lot of small kind of skirmishing units. Normally, you would say this War Horde list does have tools for it. Yet we see with the scoring, we don't really know how this mission was actually at play that could have played a huge factor. Having that many Dark Lances is terrifying your Kill Rig. Outside the WAAAGH turn, they are getting picked up in that response. So can your trucks. So you do got to be careful. There's Mandrakes in here for infiltration because we do have, of course, our own infiltrators on this list. You do have Mega Knobs, but Mega Knobs don't have like that big unit on this list you can really put them into and get your value and response, which is what we talk about in the verse with the World Eaters. Now it's happening to him, the Orc player, in this case, where this Aeldari list doesn't have a ton of actually doesn't have anything that's really valuable besides Jeffrey at 125 for the most points, I guess. So in that case, you really have the Mega Knobs and use them more as bait, as in they're going to run onto subjective, punch the one off it, really pressure the enemy, and then when the enemy responds with all its little skirmishing units to help pick them up with their combined factor united together, that's where your SWAT teams come into play. Your Beast Snagger boys, your Flash Gitz, hopefully you can get both activations off right. You want them to shoot, you want them to charge, because that's really how you get value killing these Eldar. You get to strength 6 with them from the Kill Rigs, because of course Flash Gitz are strength 5, your guns are strength 6. That's why Flash Gitz are super important right now in the meta, guys, where it is, because weirdly enough, there's a lot of T5 infantry, there's T6 infantry, but there's a lot of T2 infantry, and that's where you would feel them in this matchup. I bet you the Flash Gitz were a huge factor to help him kind of offset that in the auto hitting las cannons, because Yavrin, those Yernari want to play a bunch of shenanigan trick games. In his third game, with the 100 point, he gets the Genestealers. So he gets 3 color morphs. These are those lone ops. When you get close to them, reactive move, shoot you as if there's their movement phase. As long as they're shooting phase, as if it's their shooting phase. 2 units, 5 hybrids with auto pistols, followed by 6 units of hybrids with hand flamers. Didn't give me that time. I was like, hold on, I think there's more than 5. And then a neophyte hybrid, just 1 squad. 2 Goliath trucks, which we do have them up here. These guys, when you do fall back from them, you do have to take a desperate escape check. Not too many units on this list that are going to take like fallbacks to desperate escapes. More like the beast boss that are running in there and just kind of punch through it. I'd like to see that. But they do have the Ridge Runner. So of course these guys gives you more AP. That does matter because Genestealers have a bunch of different kind of volume of kind of shooting and such. So making it more reliable to actually kill you does matter for our transport popping, because we want to keep our transport safe here, right? So he has 3 of those, I believe, or 2 of those. Then he has 2 units of 2, because these are 2 different. They're 2 little trucks, right? I'll show you the thing again in case you're not familiar. They're 2 little kind of like our orc buggies. Just imagine our orc buggies, but they can be in 1 unit, just like the buggies used to be able to do. But in this case, he has 2 of them in there, and then he has a individual one, followed by Adelan Jackals, so 2 units of those, and then the Rock Grinder. So here's the Goliath Rock Grinder. Like I said, it is tougher with T10 with 10 wounds, but that's just enough that the Beast Boss can essentially one-shot that unit on the War Horde. If you're playing War Horde, he has a good chance of one-shotting it because you're getting sustained. You can put up Carnage. You can re-roll the hit rolls. You can fish. It can go off, but all in all, you kind of actually like that matchup. And then some pure Shane Genestealers, some fighting potential, but I like how this looks up for the orc player. He has a lot of kind of just enough skirmish, and these units are just tough enough and soft. The ones that are tough enough are tough enough that you get your value back from killing them with your orc list. But or did he lose this one? Did I lose that one? Did I just lie? No, this is a different. Did I just lie? Well, let me go back to my boy, because I'm like, to pick the different list, right? Yeah, I did. Okay. Haha. Yeah, boys, I had a different list to open at. No, sorry. I didn't have that wrong. I did not have that wrong. 100. Ha. Okay. 100. I was showing you a list one earlier. I was like, wait, did I go somewhere? That was the next list we're going to cover. But like I said, see, 3rd game, he got 100 points on that guy. You like to see that with the War Horde list between the transports. The kill rigs feel really good. And then, of course, beast bosses feel really good. Beast boys feel really good. Commandos being able to get up and start punching these guys. They don't have to deal with their Overwatch either. Feels really nice when you're dealing with the Genestealers, because here's a list again. And of course, you have the Mega Knobs that can go up and start bullying. So fat 100 points there. You have the nice bully unit with the Mega Knobs. You have the Commandos to put the pressure. You have the transports to go up the field safely. All these different the SWAT teams to skirmish, punch up, kill vehicles, kill some monsters, stuff like that. So I really like to see that. Really well balanced showing list so far. It's showing its balance and variety of kind of data sheets, not really relying on any one orc unit to carry the load. This is 4th matchup. This is 4th matchup where he went into the Imperial Knights. And of course, a lot of orc players know. I always say Imperial Knights are the gatekeeper army that you have to be ready for. You have to be aware of. So we have Canis next, followed by a Crassus Knight Antrope. Nice big boy right there, 450. We have 2 Helvrins, followed by 4 Warglaves, and then a Sisters of Battle Emulator, which we showed already what that does. It does mean so you don't have the benefit of cover. And it says that just units that have benefit of cover. That means it does count for the Knights unit too. Like if they're targeting the same unit that takes away cover. And then a Sisters Battle Squad. So it's kind of just support. Weird points. Pretty cool. I mean, he got that far. The fact that he met Ivan this far into the tournament, going into 3-0, means that it was quite legit, even though playing both of these 2 big boys isn't necessarily always the meta. But you do have to be aware of that Imperial Knight as a orc player. This very much comes down to, is the orc player keen enough to position up and take out the wall and punch up, clearing something like Canis Rex or clearing all the Helvrins and Warglaves on the wall. If they simply can't stage up and they get their transport topped and they get shot and then they get charged, they get killed. Game's pretty much over. This is a huge skill factor game, and is your list developed enough? Like I said, we see that Ivan's is, because he does have bosses, he does have kill rigs to help shooting and give police different strength, hopefully get lethals on different turns. Snaggers, of course, can go off and hurt these different war dogs with with popping lethals at 1 turn. So there is ways that he can deal with it. It's just the execution that it has to be when you're playing that kind of War Horde list. Here we go with your Mega Boss, Mega Boss with this big unit of knobs to run into Canis Rex or a different kind of unit. Canis Rex, though, might find on death and kill you and take you out in response. You have to be ready for that too. There's so many different things that can happen. So then we have his final matchup with, he ended up losing this one, which was to the Blood Angels with the Gladius Task. So Blood Angels making their final appearances out here before they enter Death Valley. No, I'm just kidding. So we have an Apothecary Biologist, followed by a Librarian in Phobos Armor, 3 Ball Predators, all with these Ball Flamestorm cannons. These are just flamers, strength 6, ignoring cover. I believe they're -1, maybe -2, but they are just 1 damage from what I remember. Then we have the Centurion Devastator Squad, goes great with Gladius. 3 units of these Death Company Dreadnoughts. I do want to pull up their data sheet because they're just kind of different. Of course, if they're not within the range of Chaplain, they have 0 OC, so they would have no OC. It shows they have 3, but if they're not within the range of a Chaplain, they don't get any OC, but nobody cares because in reality, what they're trying to do is they're trying to continue his fight, because if you read Frenzied Reprisal, it means if somebody hits them, as in they consolidate to a different unit, they punch them, then they get to fight you, and then they get to keep doing it. So it's pretty quite hilarious. So you just, it can end up just ruining you the whole game if you have too many Orc units near each other. We have the Eradicator Squad, an Inceptor Squad, another Inceptor Squad, followed by Infiltrators, a Labyrinth Dreadnought, teleporting. He can teleport units in this army as well for that pressure. He can fight quite well as too. He's still a Dreadnought. Remember, he's durable as well, for Orcs at least. A Scout Squad, another Scout Squad for that nice infiltration to kind of go toe-to-toe with your commandos. But they're Blood Angels. They're Gladius, right? The one thing that you have to remember here that Gladius gives you the cool flexibility of as a Space Marine player when you're going into these final rounds is that he can do the stuff we can do, as in he's going to get to wall turn once because he could use that as his doctrine as he's playing Gladius. But he can run up and shoot you with flamers once if he decides. He can fall back. So you can put screens up, and then he can be ready to fall back with the screens if they end up surviving. So they do have the flexibility, even though Space Marines, do get a lot of the bad rap. And mind you, they have killing potential for anti-tank with the Centurions on top of all the flamers, the ball predators. So not only are they punching you with the respect of a Blood Angel, but they're shooting you with the combined arms factor of Gladius, which, like I always say, that's one of the ways you kind of beat Orcs, is if you're really good with combined arms, because then you're really pushing their durability all the way off, through, because you're hitting on both phases. A half diminished Orc unit didn't survive just your punching or just your fighting and help finish you or run up and keep playing the game. You cleared them, and then they're slowly had to move to the field and fill up the gap, because after the wall, you're kind of slow as a basic Orc, just kind of meandering forward. So I can see how that ended up happening. All in all, 42 points there. Hard loss, but it happens. It happens. Overall, great job by Ivan. I thought he had a pretty good, well-refined, well-rounded Orc list. The fact that he took commandos into his list showed he was thinking ahead. He knew kill rigs were kind of easy to block in. You don't really want to put them in the middle or be forced to, so you do want to be able to take up the side of the terrain or the table and stage in the terrain with the commandos, and kill rigs kind of follow behind, give them their aura ability, a +1 strength, so they can become a early game kind of presence and threat. Then the Snaggers can follow and respond. The trucks can kind of reactively respond to things that are in the middle or that are pressuring you as well. And then the Mega Knobs are just the coup de grace, where they can come off from reserve. They can end up getting follow me lads, and they already have follow me, so then they end up here we going, and they cover a huge difference to one side of the field that you've now positioned your commandos in for already some kind of initiative. So all in all, there's a lot of ways you can play this list. I like it. Really well-rounded War Horde list. It shows a lot of the knowledge that's been found throughout Nexus that Orcs kind of need, things that we have weaknesses to that most of the time people were saying kill rigs suck, and it was easy to overlook them because they're not nearly as durable as other units in the game and other type transports and killing units. Yet their role of playing multi-purpose, multi-phase, shooting, transporting, supporting with strength or lethals, being able to possibly overwatch, being somewhat durable, decent OC, being able to themselves run up and punch on a wall, does matter. It's just up to us to get it, and then hopefully that the dice gods may be in our favor where we roll moderately decently well. So all in all, great job for Ivan Andres for the War Horde. So if you're a War Horde player, you got snaggers, you got boys, get involved, get stuck in. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!